We all know that shopping for clothes can definitely be a headache. Today, let's watch together some clothing shop videos, and I'm going to give you a few insights and tips as a seamstress. So in this first video, you know you're getting old when you start checking the fabric composition label. And this is definitely something I can agree. The more practice I have by buying clothes, wearing clothes, buying fabric, sewing fabric, the more I can see the patterns emerging. That, let's say if we're talking about knitwear, if there's some polyester, if there's some acrylic, usually those pieces do not last me very long time. I tend to overheat in them very fast. Those garments are usually a bit more prone to pilling and etc. So as a seamstress, the very first thing that I do if I'm buying clothes or if I'm buying fabric, the fabric composition is the number one thing that I look at. Nowadays, I usually buy all of my clothes online. I do not remember the last time I went to the actual physical store to buy clothing piece. So I want to give you one tip if you're also like online shopping. So if I want to buy, let's say, a sweater, I open the online store, I go to the sweaters, and the very first thing that I do, I'm going to the filter section and I'm selecting all the materials and all fibers that I'm comfortable in wearing and I want to buy in my sweater. And I do this before I take a look at any of these sweaters, because usually if I like something, if I fall in love with the sweater, I will look at the fabric composition and it will be disappointing. So instead of that disappointment, I will straight away go to the filter section and select all the fibers that I'm comfortable with in that particular garment. If you want to create a wardrobe that is going to last you a long time, it's going to look good after multiple wears, after multiple washes, and if you want to feel very comfortable in it, reading the label is the very first thing that you should be doing. So in this next video, my 70 euro Zara coat just 2 weeks after I bought it, and it doesn't look good. And typically coats are not the garments that we wash, that we put in the dryer. So that kind of peeling and that kind of wearing out is definitely not a good sign, especially if it happens 2 weeks after buying the garment. Now in the comments section, there are lots of comments commenting that this is most likely synthetic, either polyester or acrylic. And looking at the price, 70 euros, it is not a small price, but for a coat, a winter coat, it's most likely synthetic fiber, and synthetic fibers are more prone to peeling and looking like this after wearing it. But even with natural fibers, you cannot always know and guess the quality of the fabric. So I want to give you one example. I used it in one of my previous videos, but I always used to buy clothes for my son in one store. Now that store is not fast fashion, it's about medium price range store, and usually they used to have a very good price to quality ratio. However, a few of my recent purchases, which were 100% cotton sweatshirts and 100% sweatshirt pants, after the very first wash, when I put it in the washing machine, I took it out and the fabric sort of melted, sort of started disappearing, and it happened not on one garment, it happened on multiple garments from that same store. And again, this is 100% cotton. So I have no idea what happened there. I used the regular washing cycle that I've been using for many years, and I never had similar issues before. So fabric quality can definitely be a very tricky thing to determine, especially if you don't have a lot of experience. And again, yes, synthetic fibers, synthetic materials will be more prone to peeling, but sometimes even natural fibers can be completely unpredictable. Now, this next video is me leaving the store disappointed because once again, no one made the unreal clothes I had in my head. And as a seamstress, this is the number one issue that happens for me if I want to buy something. I have this very clear image in my head of the garment, of the item that I want to buy. And I go to the store and of course I see nothing anything even close to what I have imagined, and because of that I just leave disappointed and buy nothing. Now of course it's great that I know how to sew and I can make a lot of my own clothes, but some of the clothes I cannot make, like maybe a knitted sweater. I know how to knit, but I do not knit. So if I want to buy a knit sweater and I have this clear image in my head, finding the right garment that matches that image, that matches the fiber composition that I want, that matches my budget, that matches my fit preferences, this can really be sometimes mission impossible. By the way, if you want to start making your own clothes, or maybe you want to try pattern making or sewing with elevated sewing techniques, I now have a 20% discount on all of my sewing and pattern making courses until December 2nd. Use code SEWING2024 at the checkout to get 20% off of all of my sewing and pattern making courses. Now let's continue with our video.
This is your sign to buy that $10 Goodwill oversized vintage gown. Go to your local tailor, or maybe don't, because this was $180 to get tailored. I'm not gonna lie, I did bring it home and I was thinking that it would be a lot more snatched than it was. I really wanted it to give corset, but I guess it did fit me pretty well. And I was being a psycho and was gonna use a thread to make it more snatched, but I didn't. But I did end up feeling like a goddess all night. I felt super beautiful and I love how this dress turned out. The end was a little rough, so he did have to hem it, but overall I absolutely am so happy with how this turned out. Go do it.
So I love this video because it shows a very good comparison what minor alterations can do to the overall fit and overall look of the garment. Now I'm going to tell you, $180 for that alteration does look a little bit steep, but this depends very much on where this alteration was done and also the fabric, because the fabric, I can see that it's beaded, it has some embroidery, it has very thin top layer, it has a layer underneath. So yes, it does look like a kind of quick and easy alteration, but fabric can make it very, very tricky. And on some fabrics, especially if they're very thin, beaded, embroidered, lightweight and slippery, it can be very challenging to do that alteration. And again, maybe depending on the fabric, depending on the location, that may justify the price. But I overall really like the comparison of what small alteration can do to the overall fit. And I know that is going to be a dress that she's going to wear for years and years to come. And as a seamstress, one of the best tips that I could do is, if you buy clothes and if you're not the perfect store size, definitely get them altered. And if you don't want to pay for the alterations, you can buy like a beginner-friendly machine. Like one of the machines that I have is very beginner-friendly. It's around 100 euros, and you can do a lot of simple alterations very, very quickly. Now, for example, where I live, jeans alteration, jeans hemming is about 10 to 12 euros. So you just need to hem like 10 pairs of pants using that machine for the machine to pay off. And hemming jeans, hemming pants is literally very, very simple task. It can be done by a beginner. You just need to sew like 2 seams and this is it. It can be done in like 10 minutes up to half an hour, depending how tricky the fabric is. But this is definitely something that's going to elevate your garments, elevate your wardrobe, and just elevate the entire overall look and give your store-bought items that custom tailor fit. I do have a few alteration videos on my channel and I will link them in the description box so you can see for yourself how easy some of the most popular alterations can be. Now moving on, this is your sign not to buy the viral 5-pound red scarf from Primark, and we can see that the fuzziness of the red scarf has been transmitted onto the coat fabric. Now I wouldn't particularly blame the red scarf for this. I would say that this is the match of the fabrics. Like, yes, most likely the scarf is prone to shedding a little bit, but also I can see from the video that the coat fabric acts like a magnet and it will attract every single fuzzy fiber that goes its way. So one tip is that if you're buying something fuzzy, something that looks like this, you may want to pair it and in the store like rub it onto the coat or onto the jacket that you're going to wear it with and see if that fuzziness, those fibers transmit onto that other garment. Now, not only that, but I have a cat at home, an orange cat, beautiful long hair cat, and because of that I just cannot wear some of my garments because some garments, some fabrics act like magnet, and if I wash it, if I clean it, I put it on, like 5 minutes later, I don't know how that fabric finds the cat hair, but it does. So because of that, I cannot wear certain garments, and especially if we're talking about like solid colors, every single fiber, every single hair will be visible on that. So when I'm buying a garment or some fabric, I'm always thinking about if it's going to attract the hair or not. This is one of the things that I do as a cat owner. And one more thing, now we're seeing the sample of the fibers of the fabric transmitting, but sometimes the color of the fabric may transmit as well, especially if we're talking about jeans and more specifically dark wash jeans. So one thing that I really like to do is if I'm in the store, I will take a small piece of the napkin, clean napkin, and I will rub it with my fingers onto the jeans and see if the color of the jeans transmits onto that napkin. And this way I'm going to know what to expect if that fabric transmits color or not. So this next video is they're not even hiding bad quality anymore. And we can see that the seams look really rough. We see lots of threads. Now you may be surprised by this, but I am happy that they did not edit it out in these photos and we can actually see what we can expect if we buy this piece of clothing, which is one of my worries when it comes to AI modeling, when it comes to selling clothes, which has become more and more popular. Now, from the cases that I've read so far of the big stores that are using AI models, they do take the actual photos of the clothing pieces and they are replacing the models itself with AI or enhancing like the background imaging with AI, and they're not altering the clothes itself with AI, so we can still see the actual clothes and the actual quality of the clothes. But while we may not know if this is going to be always the case and if AI is going to be used in the photos that are used to sell clothes and the clothes are going to be altered, this is not going to give a good indication about the clothing piece at all. It's not going to give you indication about the seam quality, stitching quality, fabric quality. So this is definitely something to think about and pay extra attention in the coming years. And to conclude the video, I wanted to show you a very creative video of how a person is taking a dust bag and completely transforms it into beautiful puffer vest. Now, I absolutely love that refashioning, upcycling has become a trend, and this is one idea how you can use those shopping bags that you sometimes have. If it's a beautiful bag, if it's made from like canvas, you can upcycle it and create a completely new garment, giving it a very beautiful look. I do love that this has become a trend, and I hope to see more creations like this in the future. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you enjoyed these shopping videos as much as I did, and I will see you next time. Bye!